In this tutorial, I'll show you guys how to retouch your studio images and how to clean up your distractions in maybe the background in studio images, and to do a skin retouching. For the color grading, we're just going to be using my latest skin tone LUT pack or presets that are going to help you to color grade your images faster in Photoshop. So this is my latest version for a skin tone LUTs, and we're just going to be experimenting with them and seeing how they're going to be working with this particular studio image in Photoshop. So let's kick in and we start first of all doing the cleaning up of the background before we can do any skin retouching process. So we're just going to duplicate the background there by hitting Ctrl or Command J so that we can have a backup. So Ctrl Command J, then come and get our patch tool that is going to help us clean up the background. So zoom in by using Command plus. So what we want to do, just want to get rid of these tiny distractions in this image. So like you can see, we have this line right here. So left click and draw over that distraction and drag it to a clean area to get rid of it, just like that. So this is how to clean up these distractions. Then we have some line that is crossing right here. I hope you guys can see it. So I'm just going to draw all over until the extreme end around this using my patch tool, and left click and drag it to an area I want to replace it with, and it is gone. So I'm just going to come and do the same right here on this particular area and drag it to a cleaner area to replace that. So you can come and have a cleaner version. So don't mind if at all we are doing a rough selection. So just come and do that. So take it or drag it to an area you want to replace it with. So just want to remove this line right here. So I'm just going to draw over or around it and drag it to a cleaner area. So I think that has done a rough job for us. Just going to zoom in because I want a precise selection. So I'm just going to come here and draw around this line and drag it towards this area to replace it. So just do this and clean up that line. So if at all we have any other distractions, you can continue doing that. So I'm just going to clean up that. So we still have some kind of dirt right here, but don't mind, we're just going to clean up that using our mixer brush tool when we start doing the skin retouching. So let's just get rid of these prominent lines. So draw around and drag them to the area that you want to replace that with. So come right here to the shoelace and do the same, just like that. So you do have to take your time while cleaning up this background because we don't want to leave any area untouched or untampered with. So just clean up like that. So we have some little distraction right here. I'm just going to drag it down to see if at all Photoshop will do for us any justice while trying to replace that dirty area. So I think we have so far done a wonderful job. So let's see a before and after for the cleaning up of the background and the foreground. So the next thing we want to do, you're just going to merge these layers by hitting Shift Command E on the keyboard, and you're going to come to the actions. And for those interested in these actions, check out my skin retouching essentials pack so that you can download these or purchase these at a discount. So I'm just going to come to my actions. I'm just going to come and play my 16-bit frequency separation action. So select it and play it just like that. So for the radius, always make sure that you zoom in the skin up to a point when you're losing out on the detail in the skin area. So I think 7 is too much. I'm just going to look for a better radius. I'm just going to go with around a radius of 5 because that's the point when I start losing out on the details in the skin area of the model, and simply hit OK for the action to continue playing. And when it is done playing, I'm simply going to come and select the low frequency layer and come under the brushes, right click and select the mixer brush tool. So you have to set up the brush so that it is going to be able to harmonize or even out the skin tones for you. So come right down here and make sure it is a clean brush. So we have two options. Make sure you select the clean the brush after each and every stroke option, which is the second option right here. Wetness is 9, load 75, mix is 90, and flow or 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not selected or checked rather. Then what we want to do right now, we simply want to turn off this black and white layer because we want to see every tone in the clearest way possible. So we're just going to zoom in like that and start blending or evening out the skin tones right in this model's skin. So basically reduce on the size or increase on the size of the mixer brush tool by using the box brackets on the keyboard and simply left click and start moving your mixer brush tool. And as you're doing this, make sure you take into consideration the tonal variations. Don't mix the tones or don't drag your brush from tonal variations because that is going to be changing the original shape of the image you're retouching or the model's skin. So that's why I'm blending those midtones alone. So when it comes to this highlight, I'm just going to blend it alone and try to even add those highlights alone. So increase on the size and blend this beautiful highlight right here and come and blend that other side. So we have midtones right here. I'm just going to even them. So you can see that this is not distorting the original light or the original shape of light onto this image. It is just trying to maintain that light on the image, but as well blending or evening out the skin tones or the color in the skin tones of this image. So let's see the before and the after. Before after, you can see that we have really maintained the skin tone color and the way light is falling on those areas. So don't mind if at all you accidentally skip out on some areas because there is another technique that is going to be handling that exact area. So you're just going to come the face. Don't forget the face after being happy with the retouching of other parts. So you could even as well have started from the face area. So for the face, I would recommend that you turn on the black and white layer because this layer is going to show us the unevenness in the skin tones in the face area. So in order to do that, we're just going to come and blend everywhere we have uneven skin tone transitions. So you can see that right now we are blending or evening out these skin or tonal variations in the skin using the mixer brush tool, and it is doing a very nice and pretty job. So let's just come and even out those just like that. So let's see the before and after for the skin area of the face. Before after. So we're just going to continue evening out those areas using the mixer brush tool. So let's just come and blend or even out those right there. So don't mind if at all we accidentally miss out some areas because the other technique that I always recommend in my tutorials is the lasso tool method that is going to fine tune this image even more. So let's just come and blend this shadow right here and come to these areas and just harmonize those skin tones like that. So come to this upper lip area, and what you have to ensure or make sure is that you blend every area and make sure that every skin tone has been harmonized, and don't forget the neck area. So I think we are done blending or evening out the tones in this image. So let's turn off the black and white and we see the results so far. This is the before after you have just been able to retouch the skin. So we're just going to come and delete the black and white layer and come back and select the low frequency layer. So after it has been selected, come and get the lasso tool and the feathering. Make sure that if at all you don't want those harsh edges from your selections using the lasso tool. Make sure you put your feathering to a higher pixel level. So for this case, we just want to use 22 pixels, and you're just going to zoom in this time around. Remember, for a mixer brush tool, we didn't have to zoom all the way in, so come left click and draw over the skin area. So just draw over the skin area just like that. So right now you're just going to simply come to filter, then come to blur and come to Gaussian blur. So this is the radius we had initially before. So we have to move this radius up to a point when we feel like we have the best skin texture for this very image. So I think at around 15 we have the best skin texture. But for my hack, like I always show you guys, is for this radius that we had when we are creating the frequency separation for this very image, just multiply that radius by 3 and you have the best skin texture for your images. So just go and multiply 5 by 3, which is 15, and type it in right there, and that is all. So just want to apply this onto the rest of the image. So right click and come to Gaussian blur and continue applying that Gaussian blur effect onto the rest of the image. And when you feel like the effect is too much, you can simply use Shift Command F or Shift Control F and reduce on the opacity of the Gaussian blur effect on a particular area on the skin of the images. So like you are seeing, you have not yet removed or cleaned removed the blemishes from this image. So you're just going to be doing that in a bit, but I prefer to do the skin retouching first, because that is, or that usually reduces on the burden of blemish removal. So that's why I prefer to remove them or flatten most of the blemishes using the retouching process of the mixer brush tool and the lasso tool. So you can see what I'm drawing shapes is the way a particular area is shaped in this image. So just right click and come to Gaussian blur. So when you're done doing that, the next thing is going to be removing of the blemishes. So come to the layer that contains the blemishes and come and get, for this time around we are still going to be using our patch tool. So you can use the clone stamp tool or whichever you want. So for this case, I'm just going to be using the patch tool and zoom all the way in, because I want to tamper or remove the blemishes from this image. So left click and draw over the blemish and move it to a clean area, just like that. So always make sure that the source or the destination, the source is the destination or whichever you want to call it, and continue drawing and moving the blemish to a cleaner area to get rid of it. So you're just going to be doing this for a few seconds before we go into the final color grading process for this very image. So you can see that it is doing a pretty nice job trying to replace the blemishes in this very image. So just do that and clean up these blemishes. So you can see that we have a line of blemishes right there, and I'm just going to deal with them just at once. So when you feel like the clone stamp tool is not doing or giving you the best results, you can as well switch to another tool that can be maybe the clone stamp tool. So let's try to use the clone stamp tool for these other smaller areas. So come and get the clone stamp tool. Make sure a line is sampled and make sure you are on the current layer, because you don't want to sample information from the layers below. We only want to deal with the textures. So reduce on the size by using the box brackets on the keyboard. Alternate to sample and click over the blemish to get rid of the blemishes. So I'm holding down the alternate button and left clicking to sample and releasing both the alternate and the left click and left clicking over the blemish to clean it or get rid of it from this very image. So let's just clean up this image. And when we are done cleaning up the image, you know the drill. The next thing is going to be color grading this very image. So let's just clean up this, and we're just going to go straight into the color grading process after removing or cleaning up the blemishes from this nice portrait. So let's just clean up this, and let's just get rid of these tiny skin imperfections. So when we're done doing all that, the next thing is going to be color grading. So I would prefer that you stay around for just a few seconds as we get done with the blemish removal. Remember, blemish removal is not something that you can just rush through. You always have to take your time while cleaning up or removing blemishes from the images, and we don't want to leave out any blemishes because we are running to color grade. So just make sure you take your time while cleaning up or removing blemishes from your images. So I'm just going to use command minus to zoom out to look at the image and come down and look for the other blemishes that may have remained in this very image, just like that. So I'm trying to be a careful retoucher and not a careless one. That's why I prefer to do everything the way it is meant to be. Remember, I told you that we are going to clean up the background. So come and select the low frequency layer and come back to your mixer brush tool. And this time around, we could as well increase the wetness because we just want to make this a seamless background, and just continue. Just come and start painting over the background just like that. You can as well come right down here and paint just like that. Come and blend these areas. So I think that is fine. So you're just going to come and close the frequency separation groups to see the before and after so far. Before, after, before, after. So right now what we want to do, we just want to do a little bit of eye and teeth whitening before doing the final color grading. So we're just going to create a stamp visible layer by clicking Shift Alternate Command E on the keyboard and duplicating that by hitting Ctrl or Command J and coming to filter and coming to the camera raw filter to do the eye and teeth whitening. So I'm just going to zoom in. I'm just going to zoom all the way in and come and get the adjustment brush tool. And make sure temperature is down because we're getting rid of yellows in the white area of the teeth or the eyes. So I'm just going to go with around -21. And since we have some greens too, opposite of green, which is magenta, take this all the way to around 62. Highlights around 4 and do the same for the whites. And since we have some other colors, you're just going to desaturate to around -64. And reduce on the size of the adjustment brush tool by using the box bracket still, or you can play around with the size right here. So start painting over, left click and paint over the teeth to start giving them a more whitish kind of feel, or to even whiten them just like that. I hope you can see that. Reduce on the size right here and come and paint over like that. So hold down the space bar and left click and move or hover around and come and whiten the teeth, the eyes rather. I don't know why I am obsessed with teeth. So just whiten them and command minus to zoom out. So you can see that we have just whitened the teeth of the model. So simply hit OK. And the next thing we want to do is the color grading and testing my latest skin tone LUT pack. So in order to do that, just going to come to color lookup and you're going to start loading these LUTs. So come to load 3D LUT. And since I have not yet loaded them into my Photoshop, I'm just going to go to load 3D LUT and I'm just going to look for the folder where my LUTs have been stored. And for this case, I'm just going to come to my desktop. I'm just going to look for the folder which contains my LUTs, which is going to be it is under my documents rather, Then come down here to my LUTs. So these are the LUTs we want to deal with. So let's see how one is going to work on this image. So come to open, and it is going to load this LUT. So you can see that this has really transformed this image, and I really love this specific LUT. So you can see the before and the after, before, after. Let me try to zoom in for you guys so that you can see the difference, the before and the after, before, after. You can as well reduce on the opacity if at all you feel like it is too much for your liking. So before, after. So let's see what the second LUT is going to have in store for us. So double click right there and come and load 3D LUT, and come to our second LUT, and we see what it has in store for us. So this is the second one, and this is really beautiful. I am in love with this LUT. So let's see the before and after. This is at 38%, and this is at 100%. You can see that these are really so nice and beautiful. With just a single click, you have such a nice and beautiful color grade to your images. So I'm just going to come and test maybe the lower or the bottom LUTs, and we see what they have in store for us. So let's try 6, and we see what it will do to the image. And this is more, it adds that kind of melanin kind of skin tone to the image. So you can as well come and reduce on the opacity if at all you feel like the melanin is too much for your liking. So I think right there I feel like the image is really okay. So let's just try the last LUT, and we see what it is going to have in store for us. So let's just try 9. So 9 at 100%. This is what 9 has in store for us. And this is so nice and beautiful because it adds that kind of cyan color to the image while making the skin tones really nice and rich. So you can as well reduce on the opacity if at all it is too much for your liking. So let's see the before and after for the overall image. So this was the image initially before retouching, and this is the after, before, after, before, after. And for those interested in these LUTs, I'm going to put the link for you guys in the description of this video so that you guys can check out and download these LUTs and purchase them in order to support this channel for the content I always drop for you guys at no cost. I'm Ronnix from ronnixphotography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet another tutorial. And don't forget to keep practicing and keep creating.